My TV 53 News at 8:30 is digging deeper right now.
Well, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we dig deeper with some of the biggest newsmakers in not only the San Joaquin Valley, but across the country. And joining us today during our 8:30 half hour and digging deeper is Rachel Tesler. And she is a writer on top of being a documentary producer. So that's very interesting. But Rachel, thank you so much for joining us here on My TV 53 News at 8:30 tonight. Appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me on, Austin. This is great.
So tell me a little bit about your background story as it relates to writing.
Yeah, so I always loved writing and literature. And, I grew up really excited about storytelling. I went to school for screenwriting and really got into the film business. Like you said, I've been a documentary producer for over 10 years. And I had gone to grad school for English. At Columbia, and really just fell in love with poetry. I had always thought poetry was very hard to understand. I found it very esoteric. And it was when I was, really reading these masters like Pablo Neruda and Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, I completely fell in love with it, and how poetry could really capture a mood or a moment. And in writing my own poetry, being in New York City as a Columbia University student, I was like, wow, I can capture how I'm feeling in just a few minutes.
You right around, was it last year where you really started diving into this book?
It's funny. I really started writing this 10 years ago. So it was, yeah, I know. So I actually had been writing it all through grad school, which I started in 2015. So I was writing a little bit here and there, and I never thought it would go anywhere. It was almost like a private diary. I would write my thoughts on the train, or I would write, while I was honestly on my phone, walking, which probably is the most annoying thing to people. But
that's funny you bring that up, because I did that today. That's hilarious that you bring that up. I just have to show this. I was walking across the street. We have this really cool market across the way from our studio. And I'm walking across the street on my phone. And and I thought I had the green light. I did not, and I almost got hit. So you you never know what's going to happen if you're on your phone.
Be careful when you're writing and walking.
Exactly.
Don't try that at home. But that's really how this came about. So I'd write a little bit every day. Honestly, it was a way for me to process my emotions, in my 20s, being in a new city, and I was scared and trying to figure out who I was. And so literally it's a compilation. It's literally my diary from my 20s. And really it was I would say the last year. So you said, last year I was thinking maybe I should be more serious about this. And so it became more of a chapbook, and then a book. And I was submitting to editors and publishers. And that's how it really became the book and not the diary. It evolved into a proper book.
Walk us through this story.
Yeah, it's broken into several parts. And I would say it's really a coming of age story. Like I was saying, it's heartbreak and identity and grappling with family and understanding, any types of relationship. Like I said, familial, romantic, friendship, relationship with yourself. It's a lot of self-discovery and trying to figure out your place in the world. And for me, those are really universal themes. Like I said, it's a diary, but it's written in a way that's meant to be more universal. And the voice itself is more questioning existentially, am I doing what I'm meant to be doing here? Is this who I'm supposed to be? And I hope that, people can see themselves in that and feel less alone.
Who's your perfect reader?
It's funny because, I'd like to say that it's somebody in their 20s, a female in their 20s, just like I, identified myself as. But the truth is, so many of these poems are relatable to other people. Questions of spirituality, questions of, how I'm feeling about a family member in a moment, how I'm feeling about like the path that I'm on as myself. So while it definitely gears towards a younger female reader, I think that the themes in this book are definitely more general. And I post a lot online, so I'm very active socially, and it's funny because I feel like I've connected with so many more readers than I ever thought I would. People of all ages, genders, backgrounds, and that's been really validating for me as well.
Talk a little bit about what's next now that you've done it. You've become a writer.
Thank you, Austin. I appreciate that. It's exciting. It took me almost 10 years to publish that first book. And I think like almost taking that first step and believing in myself has been, such a blessing. Because now I'm almost done with my second book. So my goal is to publish my second book sometime next year. So as of right now, that book is called Afterglow. And so it really is like the second in this existential, coming of age collection. And it's been, really flowing through me, which I feel very grateful for and has been really exciting.
My final question I have for you as a newer writer, and like you said, you've been really this has been stewing for a decade. Do you have any advice for other aspiring writers that maybe they're in a similar situation as you? They do a lot of writing, but they haven't taken that plunge.
That's such a great question. And I was listening to Mel Robbins' podcast. I'm like a huge podcast person, but it's funny, she was talking about imposter syndrome, and I really related to that. And I think finding your community and finding, mentors has been so invaluable to me, and getting past that sort of imposter syndrome step and thinking, oh, I could never do that. I mean, there's so many amazing people in that space. People have already said what needed to be said, but your voice is so unique and so special. And I think for me, like seeing the support that I've had, and for me, honestly, like reading in the city, like I go to a lot of, like open mics here in the city, and finding that community has been unbelievable, and, testing out new material. So I would just really encourage anybody that with any sort of artistic interest to find their community and people that are going to be free of judgment and support them in their own path.
Well, like you said, you're in New York City, but we're in California, but that doesn't matter because Amazon is a beautiful thing. So let's talk a little bit about how our audience can find you and the book and best way to get it, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's like you said, it's available on Amazon. The book itself, right here, is Unblossoming. And
Who did the cover?
I did.
Oh, you did? Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm an artist as well. So for me,
Okay.
I really wanted it to come from myself. So you can search the book by the title Unblossoming and my name, Rachel Tesler, with one S. You can also find it linked from my Instagram bio, Rachel Tesler, all one word. And then my professional writing account is Rachel Tesler Writes, again, all one word. So it would just mean the world to me if you guys would check out my writing and check out the book. And I would encourage anybody who's interested in writing to reach out, or to get your information out there. The world needs to hear you.
That's right. Amen. Amen. Rachel Tesler, thank you so much for joining us. You're welcome to come back anytime. Good luck on the next the next chapter too. You'll definitely have to come back when book 2 is released. So
Thank you, Austin. I appreciate that. This has been great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Austin Breed. That's Rachel Tesler in New York City. I'm Austin Breed. You are watching My TV 53 News at 8:30. We'll be back with more guests right after this.
This is My TV 53 News.